YouTube world and Shade Tree Survivals. Mac Daddy 1911A1 here with part 3 of our Be a Good Mentor video series for Mike and his fiance, as well as anyone else out there who may be A, about to learn how to use a firearm, or B, want to be a mentor to someone who is new to firearms. And this particular one, we're going to talk about don't micromanage that person. Okay, Mike, do not micromanage or do it for her, your fiance. Experience is the best teacher. Simple as that. I don't know how to say this without sounding like an ass, but I'm going to just flat out, I'm blunt kind of guy, and that's the way I am. Do not disassemble her gun for her. Do not clean her gun for her. Do not reassemble her gun for her. Do not clear malfunctions for her. Do not load the magazines for her. Do not load the loaded magazines into the handgun for her, or cycle the slide, or close the chamber, whatever the case may be, if it's a revolver. Now, I know that sounds probably a little harsh and all, but if she doesn't learn how to manipulate it, she will never be able to do it. If you're always having to clear those jams, or load those magazines, or rack the slide for her, how is she going to learn? How is she going to strengthen her hands to where she can work that slide? Okay, so I would go step by step by step, one thing right after the other. Okay, and before you ever go out to the the range with your firearm, you should learn all the controls, and you should know how to manipulate them, what the controls do, what they don't do. And at all times, be aware where that freaking muzzle is, okay? And always keep that finger off that damn trigger, okay? Always, always, always. I'll give you a basic rundown on a handgun. This is a 1911A1 45 caliber handgun, so it's a little bit large for someone starting out. I would probably start out with a 9mm, 380 or a 9mm, and possibly work my way up to, say, a 40 cal before I'd hand someone something like this. Remember this though, the smaller the gun, if it is chambered in one of those calibers, 9mm, 40 cal, or 45, the smaller the gun, the more felt recoil you will have. But remember this, if you fire it one time, and when you're done with that first shot, if the gun's still in your hand, you are in control. That's a mental thing up here. It's a mental switch. Okay, bam, that huge loud bang, it scared me a little bit. The jump of the gun, it scared me a little bit, but the gun is still in my hand. I have control over it, and I have control where the muzzle is at. I control where my finger is at. Any external safeties, I control those. Okay? Start out simple. Once they understand, she or they understand the function of all the pieces and parts to the firearm, then you start with, you do the safety, show them how to safely handle it. And the great thing is nowadays they have these airsoft guns. They're very inexpensive, and a lot of the controls work the same on the airsoft models as on the real gun. And you can start training them with something like that so they don't have live ammo or a live gun and so forth. Now, I said in one of the earlier parts, don't patronize. When you take her to the gun store, or you go, I should say, you go with her to the gun store, answer her questions. Okay, don't let them sell her a piece of crap. All right, answer her questions, and you may get freaking clean. When I took Chemo to purchase her handgun, which she ended up purchasing an M&P 40 cal, a Smith & Wesson military and police 40 cal handgun, I told her flat out, this is her gun. I'm her technical advisor. You treat her as such, because we're not going to patronize her. We're not going to say, well, I recommend a 22 caliber. Chemo can shoot my 1911 and do so very proficiently. So don't allow the store personnel to patronize her. You don't patronize her. Answer all her questions, as I've stated many times, honestly and intelligently. If you don't know, find out. And ma'am, Miss Ruling, soon to be, you should ask questions. The only dumb question is the one you do not ask. Simple as that. And like I stated to Mike, and I'm stating to you now, if you don't know, please ask. That's all there is to it. And not only ask those questions, but you physically handle the firearms. You find out what fits really good in your hand before you go to the gun store. If you've never handled a firearm, he did not say in his letter, so I don't know. You want to handle and understand how to grip a handgun. And one of the key things a lot of people make a mistake with is they'll grip it down here and they'll have a gap under this part of the firearm. Okay? You want to make that your hand as high as possible, and you want a swell of flesh. You see how that wrinkles up right there? That is a correct grip. Another thing is you want that gun straight in line with long bones of your arm if you're going to be shooting Weaver. Isosceles is different, and it's a little bit more difficult in some ways to learn, a little bit less difficult in some ways. Keep that finger off the trigger, please. Learn what all your controls are on the handgun. Okay, this is a little different than a lot of them, but all of them have a slide lock. If it's a semi-automatic self-loading handgun, such as the 1911, the M&P series, Glocks, so forth, they're all self-loading firearms, and they will continue to do so until they A, run out of ammunition, or B, there's a jam of some type. All of them have a, right here where this finger is, that is the magazine release. You push it in, and it kicks the magazine right out, because the magazine's under spring tension. Some of them have a trigger safety inside the trigger guard. You can go back and look at my review on the M&P 40C, the concealed version, the smaller version that Chemo has, and you can see that. You can see that on any video with a Glock and so forth. Some of them have an active safety. Okay, you have to actually take it off manually. Regardless, learn the system that you're going to be carrying. Now, when you guys have kids, and I hope y'all have a whole pile of them, 12, 14. I'm sorry, I'm just kidding. But a few. Let me give you guys a little helpful hint here. You saw me, I just unloaded it. Chamber is empty. I don't know how well you can see that. Anyway, it is empty. Okay? Hammer is cocked back. You insert a load of magazine into that damn thing. It cannot load itself until you load the first cartridge into the chamber and you fire it. It uses the recoiling action of the cartridge to cycle the slide to the rear and back to the front, thereby loading the firearm. Okay? Double check again. Okay, we're still empty. You cannot get it to load itself until you cycle that slide. So if you guys have kids in the future, you have your handgun laying around the house in a drawer or something, which I don't recommend, but crap happens. If you put the loaded magazine in there, don't work the slide. It cannot load itself, and until they're old enough that they can grasp that slide and do that, and you'll see what I'm saying when you start using the semi-automatic. It takes quite a bit of power to do that. Grip strength to grip the slide, as well as pull the slide back to reciprocate it so that it'll load that cartridge in there. Now once you've done that, as you can see, it is loaded now. Okay? So if you leave your handgun laying around, that's what you do. Get rid of that thing, make sure it's out of there. You can put that loaded magazine in there, and if you need it in a hurry, someone's broke into the home, whatever, rack the slide, you're in business. But your children would be a lot safer. Me, I would recommend a bedside safe or something up high, but children are curious. When they get old enough to walk around, the next thing they're going to do is start building towers and ladders so they can crawl up on top of this and get into that and put, you know, so they can feed the old VCR back in the day. They can feed that sucker oatmeal or whatever the case may be. So they're very inquisitive. That's how they learn. So definitely you want to start teaching them as young as they, you know, when you know they can understand and they mind about the firearms and why they should not touch them. But at the same time, you want to be safe. You don't want to put a live round in the chamber. If there's even a 0.5% of a chance that they could get a hold of it. And then that way they're safe in that regard. But yeah, one of those small fast entry safes where you put your hand on top of it and it's got the little buttons, that will be the perfect solution to keep your children safe and to keep the firearm out of the hands of children that may visit. Because just because you train and rear your children up around firearms and know and understand how they operate and why they should not touch them, that doesn't mean the neighbor's kid has had any training or any education. Education is key to the whole ball of wax. This is Mac Daddy. Thank you very much for watching this part. Onward and upward.